start.
Yeah.
So sit however's comfortable. If you want to be in a chair, do let yourself. Actually, I'm going to start a chair. Man, my advice to anybody would be flying. Just look out for lots of people.
Is that right?
It was insane, and especially in Phoenix, like wild. So sit comfortably, let yourself get however feels good for you to sit for your hips. Let your eyes gently close and lengthen up through the top of your head. Feeling your shoulders melt down, and start to watch your breath as it comes in and goes out through your nose. Accepting your breaths easily in and out. If you can let your breath come in a little deeper, remember not forcing the breath, but if you can inhale into your belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. And now let's just start to move a little bit. Letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back up. So keeping your back nice and long and just starting to add that gentle movement with the breath. Remember to think of keeping the back of your head in line with your spine so you don't feel tension in the back of your neck. Good. And the next time that you end up sitting upright, let's stay there. And let ourselves release our hands on out beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now just tilt your head, and I'm going to mirror you to the right ear towards your right shoulder. Slide your hands over a little bit towards the left side just to give a little more release there. And then bring everything back into center and go the other way. So just letting your head tilt a little bit to the left and be easy. Find that release for the right side of the neck. And then we'll rise on back into center again. And let's keep the hands together and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now let's bring our hands forward. Let your hands come forward of your shoulders. Flex your hands here. Let yourself feel the undersides of the arms. And then send your fingertips down towards the ground. And then again, just flexing through the hands here. And then letting the fingertips come down. And then one more time, flexing the hands. Now we're going to open the arms out beside us. So let yourself come out here, pressing still into the heels of your hands there. And then let your hands come in towards your shoulders. Bend your elbows. And as you exhale, press out. And press down into your feet a little bit when you press out into your hands. So inhaling, bringing the hands in towards your shoulders. And exhale, press into the hands and press down a little bit into whatever part of your feet are touching. And one more time, inhaling here. And on the exhale, pressing out and then pressing into the feet. And let's release our arms on down beside us. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, twist to your right. Bring yourself on around into that twist easily. Lengthening up. Wake up the spine here. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going to go all the way into the other direction. Lengthening up. Find that sense of length in the back of your throat. Good. One more inhale. And let your exhale bring you on back around into center. We're going to come forward. So it depends on you what you want to do with your legs if you're on the floor. You're more than welcome to let your legs go long or to stay cross-legged. That depends on you. And once you come forward, if you want to put your hands down to give you a little support, you can. If you're in your chair and you want to come lower with your hands, you can go down with your hands towards the floor, or you can hold your ankles there if you want to. Let yourself just be mindful of how your back feels. Let your head hang if possible, as long as it doesn't bother your back there. Good. And one more breath here. And then we're going to slowly come on back up to sitting. And we are going to switch the cross of our legs. If you're on the floor cross-legged, if you need to stretch your legs out for a little bit, wiggle around through your feet. When you come back to sitting the way you want, just be sure to cross the other way if you were cross-legged on the floor. And we'll release our arms again on down beside us. And let's inhale the arms back out from the shoulders. And then this time, just put the tips of your fingers onto the tops of your shoulders. And as you exhale, bring your elbows in towards each other here. And as you inhale, open back out wide. And then again, exhaling, bringing the elbows towards the front. Doesn't matter how close they get. And then inhale and let them open back. And then circle a little bit with your elbows. They can be small or they can get bigger and bigger. Just kind of wake up your shoulders a little bit more. Let it feel good. Reverse directions when you feel like it, so you just feel real easy there. If it hurts, don't do it. And then when you're ready, bring your elbows down, unfolding your arms, shake your hands out just a little bit here. Good. And let's come on around towards our hands and knees. So you know if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be. Feel free to use chair for under your hands so you're standing up, or feel free to put a blanket underneath your knees. And if your wrists bother you, adjust your hands. Come to fists if you need to. Go down out of your hands onto your forearms if you'd rather. And just start to flow through your back now. Feel that tailbone initiate. Let yourself just take your time to flow through the back. And you know, if you feel like just staying in your cat or your cow for a little bit, so that you're just experiencing the pose without just moving through it, you can do that. Just picture what your spine really looks like here when you move through, starting with that tailbone and then gradually moving up with your awareness through your spine. And we'll finish off the one you're on or that you're moving in towards there. And then come back to neutral. Look down between your hands here. We'll step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into lunge. So you know you are welcome to go shorter or longer. Remember, you do want to feel like you're not, lining up your feet. You want to have that little bit of space between them like you're on narrow railroad tracks. And now focus here on the core of the body a little bit. So feel the belly gently engaged and press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer, but not harshly. Just a little bit. Feel what your belly does. Feel how you engage a little more in your hips and your back. And then we're going to switch legs. So coming to the other side. Again, how long of a stance you take is totally up to you. Just be mindful of that front knee there, so it's not bent farther forward than your ankle. And then that little engagement, like you're trying to lengthen your mat, but you feel the belly and the low back and the hips engage a little deeper. Good. We're going to switch legs again. It's up to you whether you like to lift a hand up here or a forearm up to your thigh. You're more than welcome to bring your left hand or forearm up to that front thigh there, or if you like to do both, you can try both hands coming up if you feel like you like to come a little deeper. And then we're going to switch legs again. So again, once you come into that lunge, take your time to decide if you want to bring your right hand or forearm up to your thigh or not, or both. Good, and then we'll we'll come on back down with our hands. If they're up, we're going to step forward and come on into our standing forward bend. So once you get your feet under you, however you want to support yourself, walk a little bit. When you bend one knee, lift the heel up of that bent knee side, okay? So you're actually moving through your feet too. And if you can, kind of enjoy that split second where both heels are up, and then when you lower the heel down of that long leg, just let yourself really enjoy the back of that one leg at a time. And then finish off. Bring both feet now down and take your time. If you need to lift your toes up to get yourself adjusted there, the four corners of the feet into the floor do. And then just release wherever you need to be. Use whatever support you like under your hands or under your forearms. Remember, if your back needs to be long, you can always put your elbows above your knees so that you support yourself with that nice length through the low back. It's okay to hang your head, do. And breathe. Just watch those full deep breaths. Feel the ribs expanding and contracting back in when you exhale. Good. One more breath. From here, let's bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose. So if you need to adjust a little bit or look at your feet or, just move around a little bit to get yourself feeling very balanced between your feet, do. Once you bring your gaze on out and forward, whether you're keeping your eyes closed or open, just imagine looking straight out. So your chin is fairly parallel to the floor. And feel the feet now in the ground. Start to imagine, bend your knees a tiny bit. Imagine you're pushing the floor away from you with your feet. And then just gently feel your thighs lifting upward. Feel the hips coming over the ankles, the shoulders kind of stacking up over your hips. Enjoying that quiet strength of simply standing aligned in your mountain pose. And then we'll let our arms unfold on down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees and come forward into our standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find a nice flat back as best you can, that nice length through the spine. And we'll step the right foot back here and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears now. Inhale. And exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So whether your hands are on blocks or chair or floor, let yourself enjoy lengthening through the spine here. You're more than welcome to walk or bend your knees both at the same time if that feels better. Just feel the elbows gently hugging inward. And let yourself reach back through your tailbone. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank, and you don't have to do a full plank. You can come to forearms. You can put your knees down if you're on the floor and do a half plank. But just enjoy finding that strength here in the core of the body. Feel your sitting bones reaching down towards your heels. You can do little push-ups if you like. And then we'll come on back into down dog. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward. It doesn't matter how you get there. Left knee can come down if you need to. Coming into that lunge again. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. So again, check your feet out. Hips distance apart and parallel with the feet. And then just relax into your forward bend using whatever support you need. And watch your breaths again, all the way in and all the way out. So see if you can keep your awareness just with watching your breath. One more breath there. And then we'll let our hands come up to our hips and bend our knees, rising on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's release our arms beside us. Inhale just your left arm all the way out and up overhead. And then bend the elbow. Let your hand come wherever your shoulder allows your hand to come, right? It can be on the top of your head or behind your head or your neck. Depends on you. Some of you might want your right arm to come up over the top of the head and put your hand on your elbow. If that's too much for your shoulder, don't do it. The other thing you can do is just put your hand kind of just a little bit in front of your upper arm, just to give it a little support. But if that hurts too, don't do it, right? Be mindful of your shoulder. One more breath. And then we'll release, unfold everything on down beside us. And let's inhale the other arm all the way out and up overhead. Right arm up. And again, when it bends, that elbow bends, you just got to be mindful. You know, what does your shoulder feel like today? What do you want to do? Do you want to bring that arm, left hand up and over to get your elbow? Do you want to just kind of give yourself a little support there? It's really up to you. Just really waking up the tricep, but also this is, you know, pretty deep into shoulders here. So be mindful. One more breath. And then we'll unfold all hands on down beside us again and clasp your hands behind you here now. Let yourself just enjoy. Make sure your pelvis is aligned here. Find that sense of tailbone dropping down towards between your heels so you're not tucking the tailbone up under you, which really throws off the whole rest of your spine. And then feel that openness across your chest just by clasping your hands. Imagine you're breathing equally into your lungs from the bottom to the top. One more inhale. And then release your hands back there. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees as we come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Hands can be on your legs, on your chair, on your blocks. And this time, left foot steps back to come to lunge, coming into that second sun salutation. Good, and inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. So again, it is your choice how high your hands are. If you'd rather be on your forearms and do more towards a dolphin, you can. Just enjoy finding length through the spine here. Let yourself reach back through your tailbone. And on your next inhale, come on forward towards, again, either a plank or a half plank or a forearm plank if you like. If you're there and you want to bend your elbows, if you can do little push-ups, see if you can let your elbows come in towards your ribs. Remember, so instead of that traditional elbows out, think about elbows coming in. Uses a different set of muscles there. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. Really enjoy length through both sides of the body. So feel as even as you can from your right to your left side there. And we'll bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. Drawing the shoulders down away from the ears now. Again, try to imagine you're making your mat longer with your feet. And then we'll step forward again, coming on back into our standing forward bend. Full deep breaths. Think of releasing through your face. Let go through your jaw. You know, if it helps you to kind of move your mouth around a little bit, do. And then from there, we'll bring our hands on up to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse to inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms as we fold forward from the hips. And let our next inhale lengthen out our spine again. And we're going to come into down dog from here. So you let yourself take your time. Walk into your down dog, whatever height you want to be with your hands. And then on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. Now, you don't have to add a back bend here, but you can. You can go down to the floor and do a Sphinx or a Cobra. You can come through for an up dog if you choose to. Not necessary to do a back bend at all. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. walk your dog a little bit if you can, and see if you can turn your head a little side to side. Let your dog get a little looser, in other words. Kind of trying not to like tense your way into your dog, but let your body kind of adjust a little bit. Good. And then we're going to do that same thing. We're going to come out towards that plank again. And again, it is totally optional whether you come through for a back bend, go down and then up and do a little back bend, or stay in your plank. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend with our feet. Hips distance apart and parallel. And again, watch your breath. And if you need support, use it, right? If you like to hold your elbows because you like that full weight of the torso there, that's fine. But obviously if that bothers your back, don't do it. No, let yourself feel like your sitting bones are over your heels. Again, let go through your face, your jaw. And then from here, we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, press into our feet, and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chest. Coming into mountain pose. So if you need to adjust, do. Let yourself be mindful of feeling as equal as you can between your feet. You know, sometimes it actually helps to sway a little bit. To sway side to side or front to back, just so you get yourself where you're like, okay, I'm very even between my feet. And then just enjoy. Let your body enjoy. Again, that once you're aligned, it's so easy to be in your mountain pose. And then we'll go ahead and release. Our arms on down beside us, shake out a little bit, move around, do whatever you need to do, movement-wise. And we're going to come into Warrior Two. I'm going to turn my chair around and have your blocks handy, if you don't have a chair there particularly. And we'll step our right foot back and come on into Warrior Two, lining up our heels. And take your time. When you bend that left knee and you look at it, just make sure that it's not going out so you can't see your toes, right? You want to be able to feel really mindful of that knee there. And then we'll rise our arms on up and out. Flex your hands for a second like we did earlier in class. Bring them in towards your shoulders. And then just press out like you're pushing two walls away from you, out into the heels of your hands. Let the fingertips then go down like we did earlier too. And then just see if you can spread your hands and reach out through your fingertips here now. Palms are facing down. Feel the feet equally into the floor. Really enjoy coming into your Warrior Two. And then let's lower our right hand down, turn our left palm up, and inhale and reach up. Now you can either reach straight up, or you can go back a little further if you want, coming into that side stretch there. And on the next exhale, we're going to come into side angle, where you either put your left hand or forearm on your thigh, and you can add your right arm up into line with the right side of the body, or if your shoulder tells you not to do that, just keep your hand down on your hip. So keeping that length through the spine, finding that length through both sides of the body. You're not collapsing in the underside, you're staying nice and long. Good, we're going to come on back into Warrior Two from there. Pressing the feet away from each other, feel the feet in the floor equally. And then let your hands come down. And we're going to find lunge. So some of you may want to use blocks. Some of you may want to use the chair. We're going to turn that right heel now so it's directly behind the foot. And we're going to add a twist, bringing that left hand to the left hip and just rolling that left shoulder up. You can keep your hand right there on your low back. You can tell if you're dropping into this right side, right? You want to try to stay level. And you can decide about rising that arm up or not. Right? That's totally up to you and your shoulder. If it feels better, just keep your hand down. And then we'll come on back with our hand down to lunge. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And then bend your knees, press into your feet equally, and come on up to inhale the arms out and up overhead. And on the exhale, let your hands come down together in front of your heart. Find that mountain pose briefly. For a second, once you get pretty well feeling aligned, see if you can feel your hands together there. There's no right or wrong place for your hands to be in front of your chest. In fact, sometimes it's kind of fun to change how high you have them. So we get into a habit where we think our thumbs are going to go. Sometimes if you just change it a little bit, it feels good. Just be aware of feeling your hands. Let yourself just enjoy. Coming into your breath. Good, and then unfold your arms on down beside you. Shake out a little bit. Swing around the arms if you need to. Move through your wrists. We're going to do the other side. So we'll step that left foot back. Line those heels up. And then again, when you look at that right knee, just make sure, be mindful of it bending out over the center of the foot, not too far forward. So you feel okay there. And then start to rise those arms on up and out. This time, bring your hands higher than your shoulders, quite a bit, actually. And let your your shoulders really melt down. Really melt the shoulders down. And then lower the hands so that you can look right out over the top of that right hand. Spread your fingers nice and wide of both hands. So really spread the fingers out. Let yourself really soften the shoulders down there and feel your feet in the floor. Beautiful. And then bring your left hand down to your leg. Turn your right palm up and inhale. Reach up towards the ceiling or back a little bit. One more breath into that right side. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So again, your hand or your forearm can be on your thigh. You can add that left arm up if you choose, or keep your left hand down on your hip. So feeling that strength there. Through the legs, up into your hips, right? Really strong support there. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other. And now bring your hands on down, and we're going to turn to that lunge. So you may want your blocks, you may want to use the chair, depends on you. And then we'll bring our right hand on up to our right hip and roll on up with that right shoulder. Hand can stay down right there on your sacrum. Or you can stretch the arm up if you choose to. That's up to you. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. One more breath. And then we'll come on down with the hand, and we're going to step forward. And again, get our feet right underneath us. Feel your feet equal in the floor. And then bring your hands on up to your hips. Press into your feet as you rise on up. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, let your hands come right down. And again, be aware of your hands. You know, kind of change the level of where your hands are at if that feels good, or kind of change even a little bit about how the hands are placed. Like if you go lower, sometimes the hands turn a little bit, right? It feels different in your wrist. If you go higher and you kind of plug your thumb in, then the fingertips tend to be more upright towards the ceiling. Play with it. Let yourself enjoy. Feel those hands connected. Feel the feet into the floor. And then go ahead and unfold your arms on down beside you. Shake out a little bit and move around if you need to. We're going to come into Warrior One this time. I'm going to keep my chair turned this way, so if you need your chair, you can use it for support. And have your blocks handy. We're going to step that right foot back. Warrior One, remember the shoulders stay square to the front of your mat. How far you step this right foot back, 2, 3, 4 feet, totally up to you. Just get your shoulders around square, and for a second, bow your head and look down at your knee. Make sure you're not, bringing that knee too far forward. It's over the ankle. And then rise your gaze on forward. And then from here, let's inhale the arms forward like we're turning the palms to face each other, okay? Now, when you do this, try not to round forward. Try to think of really kind of plugging your arms back into the shoulder sockets. And then when the arms rise higher, you can separate them into a wide V if you want. You can bring the arms more over your shoulders, or you can let them be wider and wider, right? And then just look up a little bit if you can, just maybe to where the wall meets the ceiling. If that bothers you, don't do it. Keep your gaze forward. And feel the feet in the floor. Coming into that Warrior One. Imagine your arms are growing out of your back so that you're not using your tops of your shoulders to hold your arms up. It comes from underneath your arms. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down beside us. Now we're going to turn sideways. We're going to keep our feet at least a little wider than our shoulders and parallel, okay? And then we're going to bring our arms straight out from our shoulders, turning the palms down towards the ground. And let the hands come a little bit higher. There's your 5-pointed star. Feel the feet in the floor. Good. Now keep rising your arms up until you can clasp your hands. Bend your elbows. Clasp your hands over your head. And then turn your palms away from you so they press up. Now, if that's too much, you can bring the arms forward, right? Or you can let your arms be right there by your ears and press up into the heels of your hands. And now lean over to the left a little bit. So you're coming into a right side stretch. So you're kind of press into that right heel of that right hand. And then come on back up to the top and go the other way. Press into the heel of that left hand. Good. And then come on back up to the top again. One more breath. And then release your hands. Bring them on down beside you here now. And we're going to come on forward into a wide-legged forward bend. You know, grab your blocks if you want them. You've got them right there, so you can always reach over and get your blocks. Take your time and adjust your stance if you need to as you start to bend a knee at a time to get a little more comfortable. In other words, if that bothers your knees, don't do it. Just getting what you need to do to really get easier in the pose there. And then when you come back to center, bend both your knees equally, right? They can be a little bit bent or more if you want, that's up to you, but lengthen through your spine there. So whether your hands are on blocks or your elbows are above your knees, let yourself just enjoy that length of the spine there. Good. And then go ahead and think about coming into this pose to stay for a few breaths. So for some of us that might feel better to stack some blocks up, get out of our hands, go onto our forearms, and let ourselves come into the breath there. But if you like to put your hands down towards the floor, that's fine. You can hold your ankles if you want. You can bring your hands between your feet if you want. And try to let go again, the face, the jaw. So imagine really that the muscles of the face are just letting go fully. Now really feel that movement through the ribs when you inhale, those big deep breaths. The ribs expand outward in all directions. When you exhale, they just naturally come back in. Good. One more breath. Be really mindful when you start to rise up. If you're dizzy at all, you might want to keep your feet a little wider until you adjust in your head, right? And then take your time when you're ready to walk your feet together. Be mindful, be easy. And we're going to go the other side. So this time it'll be the left foot that steps back. So if you have your chair down, it kind of keeps you honest because you can have your hands on the chair. That keeps your shoulders square to the front of your mat. And how wide of a stance you take in your Warrior One is up to you, right? And also the angle of this back foot. If you're having some kind of issues and you need to adjust the angle of your back foot, do it so that you're okay to be there. You can keep your hands on the chair. The rest of us, if you can, bring your hands to your heart, do. And this time we're going to inhale our hands up through the midline. And then as we exhale, we're going to let them come back down to be in front of our chest. So really letting your breath do this. Letting the inhales rise the hands up. Doesn't matter how high, maybe just in front of the face. And then when you exhale, they come back down. Just a couple more breaths, really focusing on the breath. Next next time your hands wind up in front of your chest there, let yourself stay. And then unfold your arms in front of you like we did before. And again, try not to round forward. Let yourself draw your arms back into the shoulder sockets so that when they float up, it feels better. You know, and again, you can float the hands farther apart. You can have the hands directly over your shoulders. If you want to look up a little bit, do. Energy all the way out through the fingertips. Equally grounded through your feet on the floor. Good. One more breath here. And then bring your gaze forward. Let your arms come on down. We're going to turn sideways on our mat again. So again, you want your feet at least a little wider than your shoulders, or more if that's possible. Bring your hands out from your shoulders. Turn your palms down. Float your hands a little higher than your shoulders. And then, now, be aware right now of what your pelvis is doing. See if you're just automatically tucking your tailbone forward, right? Now, send it back a little bit. So if your feet were closer together, you'd be like, your tailbone would be reaching kind of like a little behind your heels. Good. One more breath. And now go ahead and release your hands on down. This time, clasp your hands behind you, right? Interlace your fingers back there. Clasp your hands. Feel that openness across your chest. And then bend your knees and start to come a little forward. Now, you know, you may not want to go far with your hands back like this. Don't. If you can't go far, don't go far. If you like to keep going, if you like to bend your knees, end up parallel to the floor, or maybe you even like to go upside down, right? And if you can let your hands come off your back at all, do. If your shoulders let that happen, right? It may not happen. Don't worry. Just feel where you can in your shoulders. And then we'll release and let our hands come on down to blocks to the floor. And we're going to walk over towards our right foot a little bit, whether we just use our blocks to walk over or walk over towards your foot. Stay there for a breath. Let yourself press a little bit with your left foot like you're trying to press it away from the midline. And then come on back through center. And we're going to go the other side. So we'll go to the left this time. Pressing that right foot a little more away from the midline so you're a little more into that inner thigh there. Good, and then come on back into center and take your time here again. Get to how you're comfortable, right? So if you like to use support, if you like to bring your hands down towards the floor, if you like to stack your blocks up, keep the length of the spine, or of course there's always the elbows above the knees. So remember in this pose, your knees can be bent or straight. There's no right or wrong. You know, you can have your knees bent. You can have your legs straighter. Watch your breaths now all the way in and out. Good. One more breath. To rise up again, be mindful of what works for you. If you need to bring your feet closer together before you rise up, if you need to stay there for a second to get your equilibrium back when you get your head up there again, do. And walk your feet a little closer together. Move around a little bit through your feet, your ankles. And then just come to a little bit wider feet than you do in mountain. So we're not real wide. We're kind of in between here, mountain pose, and a wider angle. So, you know, just a little bit, maybe a foot and a half between your feet. And let your arms just swing a little bit here first. And then we're just going to rise the arms out and bring our right arm on top of our left to give ourselves a hug. And let yourself just move your head around a little bit, like kind of what feels good to you. You know, whether it's side to side, if you find some tight places, you let yourself move through them. Sitting on airplanes, man, oh man. So once you kind of go, okay, that feels a little better, come on back into center. Now you can stay hugging, you can head towards a little bit of an eagle wrap, sending the backs of the hands just a little towards each other. You can slide, you know, the back of that left hand to the outside of your right elbow. That's a nice wrap there. Or you can do your full one. I know a lot of you in here like that one. So just be mindful. Now make sure you're not locking your knees, right? ease up there. Let yourself, soften the knees a little bit. Feel still that you're not tucking your tailbone under you. Let your shoulders release there. And then release. Let your arms come on down. We're going to rise the arms just easily out beside us. And we're going to bring the left arm over the right. Just do the opposite of the one you did if you did the opposite. So, and just move your head again a little bit. Whatever feels good. Turning it, going forward, going side to side. Let the neck release. And really especially, it's that space between the shoulder blades on your back, right, that this releases so well. And then once you come back up, again, you can just let the hands go. You can go just a little bit off your shoulders. You can stay hugging. You can slide the back of that right hand to the outside of your left elbow if you like that half. Remember, you're not trying to tense your shoulders up. You're trying to release them down. If you like the full wrap, go for it. And then again, be aware of what your legs are doing. Make sure you're not locking your knees. Really be mindful there of feeling really released up into the shoulders and between the shoulder blades on your back. Nice. And then go ahead and release. Unwind those arms. Shake out a little bit. Move around a little bit. Good. And we're going to leave our mats where they are, and we're going to come to a wall, but bring both your blocks. Oh, no. Never mind. Don't bring your blocks. Let's do this instead. So, but go to a wall where you can put your hands on a wall, okay? And you can step your way back. You can go to fists, that's fine. To where you come into that down dog, right? Where you're finding that about 90-degree angle if you can in your hips. Now, if this bothers your shoulders, I know, don't do it. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. Reach out through your tailbone. Good. Good. Nice. And just be mindful of your wrists. Find that length of the spine. Let the wall help you. Yeah. And feel the backs of the legs. Let it feel really good. One more breath. And then come in and let yourself come onto your forearms at the wall. So you're doing a forearm plank, right? You've got your elbows forward of your shoulders. You can clasp your hands, send your pinky out if you like that flat edge of the outside edge of your hand into the wall. And then you're coming into a forearm plank, pressing into your forearms, letting yourself just enjoy here. So that's using the core. If you inhale, rise your heels up a little bit, and exhale, lower them down. That kind of even zeroes in a little bit more. So you're feeling that your belly is engaged, right? Now, if this hurts your shoulders, don't do it. It's a little tiny movement in the shoulders, right? But some people, it just doesn't sit right. So don't do it if it bothers you. Good. So one more breath here. Now, this is totally optional. If you bend your knees and shift your hips back a little bit, that's going to change the angle of your shoulders. Just a little bit might be enough, right? Or you might go, I'm not doing that at all because it hurts my shoulders. So don't do it if it hurts. If you want to go even farther down with your arms and shift your hips back where you get more towards that 90-degree angle, that's like a dolphin pose at the wall. It's actually really intense in the shoulders, so be mindful. Don't force it. Good. And then walk back into the wall here. Put your hands back to the wall. And step back again and do a couple little push-ups. Even if you need to do fists, right? If you need to do fists, do fists. Let yourself come into the wall and out to the wall. But it's that same thing I talked about earlier. Keeping your elbows hugging in. So like if you had a beach ball between your elbows, it's going to stay there. You're going to keep it hugging into that beach ball when you go in towards the wall and when you come out from the wall. So you're going to start to feel your arms, mind you, quite a bit. See if you can keep them evenly into the wall and out from the wall. So you don't have to be doing push-ups, full push-ups on the floor to get yourself stronger in your upper body. Finish off And then turn left shoulder towards the wall there. And just tilt your head towards the wall. Let your side of your head just gently release to the wall, if it doesn't hurt your neck. And then if you can rise your right arm up and put your right fingertips on the wall for a side stretch, you can do that. And if that's too much, just keep the head there. Keep your arm down. If this bothers your shoulder, don't do it. Breathe into that right side a little bit. Let yourself expand the right ribs with your breath. Good. And then rise back up. Lower that right arm down and rise the left inside arm up the wall. And now if you can bend your elbow, now this is the same thing we did earlier, right? You might have to step away from the wall, right? Or you might feel like, oh, I can get in close and let that elbow go up higher. Up to you. Keep your gaze forward. Put your right hand behind you. If you can let the palm just face out a little bit, do. You can be low. You can kind of fold it onto your low back. Or you can think of reaching your hands towards each other on your back there if you want to. Keeping your gaze forward so that you're not rounding into your upper back, but you're instead almost letting yourself feel like you're leading with your chest, right? So the right hand is behind you low on your back, or if you want, you can let it come up so that the hands start to try to come towards each other. One more breath. And now step away from the wall, lower your arms on down, shake them out a little bit. We're going to turn around. And we're going to come into that other side, tilting the head to the wall first. So, that might be enough. It might be like, oh, I could just almost go to sleep right here. If you want to add the left arm up, you can, but you don't have to with the fingertips on the wall. And, sometimes the shoulder will let you do it if you put your hand forward more rather than up over your head. So you got to just be mindful. Do what feels okay to you. Breathe into the left side. So these side stretches of expanding the ribs, these are the best. So one more breath here. And now as you come back up and lower that arm on down, we're going to bring the inside right arm up the wall. Now again, when you bend that elbow, you might have to step away from the wall more. You might decide, well, I want the wall to hold my elbow up even higher, and you can step in. But of course, your shoulder will tell you what to do. Left hand behind you. It can face outward there on your low back. If you feel like, oh, I think it sounds like fun to just try to reach my hands towards each other. Just remember to keep your gaze forward. Feel that sense almost like you're leading with your chest. Yes. Feel your feet equal in the floor. Good. One more breath there. Nice. And then step away from the wall. Bring your arms on down. Turn and again come into that dog if you can. Or you come a little more towards me. You can be on my mat if you don't mind. Or move my blanket so you can do yours here. Because we're going to lift a leg up and I don't want you to kick Janet there.
No, I don't want to.
So we're here. We're in our dog if we can be, as much as we can at a 90-degree angle. And we're going to let our feet come a little closer together. And you can bend both your knees and lift your right foot off the floor and stay right there. That's a lot. If you want to go into extending that right leg into Warrior 3, you can. Feel the hands equal on the wall there, or the fist, whatever you have there. And then put that foot back down. Bend both your knees again. And then when you lift the left foot up, you'll know kind of, are you in the right place to extend it back long or not if you want to. Toes are facing down, elbows are hugging in towards each other, hips are staying level. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself come on down. Good. And walk back towards the wall. And just for a second, bring your feet out, bend your knees. You can either stay hands above your knees like this to release your hips. You can go down to elbows if it feels good. Some of you might even want to fold forward over your legs with the hips at the wall. Yeah, don't do it if you don't want to do that though. Be mindful. Stay up higher if you need. If it feels really good to go ahead and just fold over your legs and let the hips be at the wall, you can. And just breathe. Nice. One more breath. And now as we come up, take your time, use your hands to help you if you need, let the wall support you, walk your way back. And then we are going to go on back to our mats, and we're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor when we get there. So let yourself come on down and be mindful. Once you get down there, just be easy. Let yourself rest your forehead on your hands if that's comfortable for you. Remember, if that doesn't work for you, don't just do what feels good. I mean, some people like to fold their arms up under them and put their head on the floor like that. And that feels more releasing to them than putting their head on their hands there. Good. And then from here, just bend your right knee, flex your foot, let it be easy. And then put your foot down and bend your left knee and flex your foot just to find your quad there. And then put both feet back down here. And let's come on to our forearms into a Sphinx to that little back bend. Remember, whether your elbows are more under your shoulders or down more towards your waist, that's totally up to you. What feels good here. So take your time, let yourself just enjoy finding that bit of a back bend here. And now see if you can stay there, but do that same bending of the right knee and flexing of the foot. One more breath. And then lower that right foot down and go to the left. So flexing the foot, letting yourself feel the quad there, kind of pulling the heel in a little more towards your buttocks if you can. Good, and then lower that foot on back down. Now it's up to you from here. If you can do that right knee bend again, if you want to go back down and then think of reaching your right hand back to get your foot, you can. And then you can decide. If you know you can't get your foot, don't do it, right? You could stay down, you can come up a little bit. If you have the foot, if you want to get higher, you can use that left arm to support you and come up higher in your half bow. Then we're going to come on back down again. And again, the left leg bends. You can come up to try to reach back. If you're like, well, I'm not getting that foot, don't worry about it. Just if you have the foot, sometimes if you push your foot into your hand, it lifts the upper body up more. So you have a back bend going on there and your half bow. Nice. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back down. And from here, we're going to shift up a little bit with our hands by our chest. That's a Cobra. Just to have your hands by your chest and lift up just a little bit. Hug your elbows in. And I know a lot of you love to do full Cobra. So if you want to keep pressing into your hands and lifting up and bringing your gaze forward, you can. That's not for everybody. Be where you can. Stay low if you need. One more breath. And we're going to shift back towards child's pose. So however you need to get there. Big toes come together. Knees separate as much as you choose. Now you can stay with your hips up. If your knees are telling you not to do this, don't do it. You know, you can come off and come around to sitting. You can stay up with your hips. Or you can shift your hips back towards your heels. And you know, we're all built differently. You find where you're able to release the most in the pose. Sometimes it feels good to make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. You know, sometimes it feels good to bring your arms down alongside your legs. Just breathe and feel that low back expanding when you inhale. Good. One more breath. And then when you get ready to rise up, you come up however you need to sitting. We're going to bring our legs around in front of us. So take your time. Let yourself come on around. Once you get there, get your blocks. And let your legs just stretch out in front of you. Move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Do little wiper blades if you want, circles, whatever feels good. And then bring your blocks behind you, all right? So they can be lowest level, they can be up a level. You'll know kind of once you think of coming back like this. So you're thinking of just coming back onto your forearms, right? So the tendency would be to let yourself kind of do this, right? Sink, shoulders rolling forward. Well, maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we want to think of the chest rising up, right? Which is not so good for everybody's shoulders. So if you know you're like, there is no way I'm doing this, don't do it. You know, you can always just put your hands back, open your chest that way, right? Some of you might go, well, I don't even want the blocks. I want to come down to the floor because it feels good. To me, I like the blocks, but you know, you kind of play with what feels good for you. If anybody in here knows what fish pose is, fish pose is where you don't have to involve your shoulders, but you start on your back and you lift up to the top of your head like that. And some people like that better, right? Because now, look at my shoulders aren't in that position where we were, right? But be mindful, because look what that does to your neck. So, you know, kind of play with where you feel like you can be for a little bit. It is a back bend. And it can be kind of extreme, so just be mindful. And if you're like, well, I'm done with this, whenever you're ready, you know, you can just lie on your back. So take your time and one more breath wherever you are. And then when you're ready to come down onto your back, just take your time. Come on down. Once you get down, bring your right knee in towards your chest. And then just extend your left leg down long on the floor, whether you hold behind your right thigh, or maybe you want to hold, you know, behind your right at your shin, but lower than your knee there. It's okay, just be good feeling about this. So press that right leg a little into your hands, just enough to get that natural curve in your low back. And then use your right hand now to draw the knee to the right. Put your left hand just on the top of your left hip, just so you don't rise that left hip off the floor. You're just releasing into outward hip rotation there. And then bring the knee back into center. Let your left hand come over to get the knee and stretch your right arm out beside you and start to bring the knee to the left. So now you're going across the midline of your body. You might not want to go very high. You might want to keep your right hip fairly close to the floor. Or you might want to keep going over farther and farther and farther with that knee. So you'll know, you'll feel it in your buttocks. It'll change, in your low back where you feel it the more you go. So be where you can. One more breath. And then come on back into center with that knee. Flex through both your feet. And bring your left knee in towards your chest. Let the knees come side to side for a second. Just a little bit, just enough to massage right there at the low back. And then come back to center and start to lengthen your right leg along on the floor. Now you're holding on either behind your left thigh or below your knee. Press your leg a little into your hands so you feel like you're not collapsing your low back into the floor. And then let your left hand guide that knee to the left. Your right hand can rest right there on top of your right hip, so you're grounded. But you're finding that nice, easy outward rotation in your hips. Should feel good. It's like a relief. It's not like anything else. Don't push it. Come on back to center. Let your right hand come over to that left knee. Left arm just comes out beside you on the floor. And when you start to go to the right with the knee, you stop wherever you want, right? You can stay with the hip on the floor pretty much. You can keep going with the hip releasing off the floor of the left hip. Some of you might even want to look to the left in this twist. One more breath here. And then let yourself come on back into center. Let's bring both knees on back in towards the chest. And then just extend your legs up in the air. And maybe an old-fashioned bicycle would feel good, right? Now, if that doesn't feel good, keep your legs straight and go back and forth like you're cross-country skiing on the ceiling, right? So just a little bit of movement up there with the feet up there in the air. Good. And then come on back with the legs long, and let's just open the legs out to the side a little bit, and then close them back up to the top. So you're just going to open out to the side, and then close them back. Now, you don't have to go far. You might want to go, 18 inches. You might want to go, like, way wide with your legs. So just take your time. So you're obviously quite engaged in your legs to do this. Good. And then finish off. And then let your feet circle a little bit. You can bend your knees to do this. Just let it be easy. Bring your arms, in fact, overhead. Let your feet circle around both directions. Kind of do a little foot dance up there. Let your shoulders release as they're just easily just lying on the floor. Relaxed, right? Good. And then from there, bring the feet on back down to the floor. And let yourself do a couple of little easy, either just lift up a little bit with your hips, or you might want to do pelvic tilts, where you think about curling the tailbone up a little bit. And this all depends on you too. So, just to release a little, some of you might feel better to lift your hips all the way up, almost like a little mini bridge, And then some of you might like to do that curling of those pelvic tilts. So pay attention to what your back wants you to do and your hips. And there might be something else entirely you want to do right now. If you want to go into a full bridge pose, go for it. If you feel the need for another kind of opener for your hips, you can do a little bit of a Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet together, or you may want to do, a figure 4 hip release stretch, or a happy baby pose, right? Or you may feel like, again, that you feel better to do a little bit of bridging or pelvic tilts, rolling bridges. Just really listen to your own body right now. In other words, that sounds good. It sounds like it would feel really good. Take your time so that when we get ready to come into our Shavasana, it feels just right. I'm going to start to get lights, and then I will be able to breathe stuff. So remember, you want to be comfortable for Shavasana. You don't want to feel like you're having to hold yourself in any way. That's why sometimes a bolster underneath knees can feel good, because you can have a little bit of a different curve in your back when that bolster's under your knees. There. So I'll look for signs as I come around. Touch it. So, just be easy. If you feel like you get stretched out but you're not comfortable, let me know. Sometimes just a little bit of a blanket, or a little bit of support under your head. Wave at me if you think something sounds good. And just take a few seconds here just to feel how you feel. Appreciate how your body feels after all the poses and the moving you did. Let your shoulders release all the way down into your arms and your hands, relaxing. Let your hips release and kind of feel the weight of your legs a little bit, releasing all the way down through your legs into your feet. And then just watch your breath. Keep returning to that wave of the breath in and out. Let it change in length if it needs to. Let yourself just allow the wave of your breath to come into those quieter places. And give yourself these few minutes to completely and fully relax. start with extremities and then move into your arms, your legs, doing what you need. You know, take your time. You're welcome to stretch or bring your knees in, stay on your back or roll to your side. If you're comfortable to be on your side, you can release there for a few breaths. Stay cradled by the ground a little bit longer. And just take your time so that when you feel like you're ready to rise up, it feels like the next natural thing to do, to come to be upright again. Let your eyes close if they opened on the way up, just so you can stay really inside yourself a little bit longer. Feel the nice ease of being able to sit up tall again so that you can feel the breath coming in and going out. Let yourself enjoy finding that length of the spine again. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.